وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. أما بعد, we continue inshallah ta'ala with Kitab al-Ilm, the book of knowledge from Sahih al-Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala. And in chapter he says باب تحريض النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وفد عبد القيس على أن يحفظوا الإيمان والعلم ويخبروا من وراءه. The chapter تحريض means the strong encouragement of the Prophet ﷺ for the delegation of Abd al-Qais so that they would يحفظوا, memorize and comprehend and have it in themselves matters of al-Iman, faith, and al-Ilm, knowledge, وَيُخْبِرُوا مَنْ وَرَاءَهُ, and they inform those who behind them, meaning their people. And still the title of قال مالك بن الحويرث قال لنا النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ارجعوا إلى أهليكم فعلموه. And Malik ibn Huwayrith radiallahu anhu, he said that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to us, go back to your families, to your people, and teach them. So this is a matter of knowledge. And Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he wanted to, from this chapter, to show the way of the Prophet ﷺ, that he would encourage people, a very strong encouragement always to learn matters of the deen, and not just to be satisfied by learning for their own benefits, but for them to extend these benefits to others. And this is the most perfect way that a human being can be. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the Prophet alayhi salatu wassalam, وحرّد المؤمنين على القتال يا أيها النبي فلا تكلف إلا نفسك وحرّد المؤمنين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not put a burden over you more than for your own self, and encourage the believers. So this is the most perfect way that a human being can be in, is to do what is right and to encourage people to do the same. If a person do what is right, mashallah, this is great, but it's deficient, it's still weak. Till he will encourage people to do what is right also. And this is what he meant by this chapter. And the word tahreed, as it's mentioned also in the Quran, وَحَرِّدِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, tahreed is different than encouragement. Encouragement is, how about we do this, and that's it. Tahreed is something that you would take the means, you put the effort, you have the concern in the heart, and the sincerity and the purity and all kinds of good things, that the words that comes out from the mouth, and to make it even some physical means to be easy for the person to do what is good. Totally different than just encouragement or words of encouragement. So this is the tahreed of the Prophet ﷺ to the delegation of Abd al-Qais, as it will come in the Hadith, that they would yahfadhu, for them to memorize al-Iman. That means that Iman is not just something that comes into the heart and that's it. It's something for the believers to memorize, to know what is the matters of al-Iman, to know matters of aqidah, matters of belief, because there is no way for the people to know that unless they would learn the wahy, the revelation from Allah. Human beings, they have no capacity to know the belief unless they would learn it from the text, from the revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Prophet ﷺ would teach them and would order them to memorize it as it will come, and matters of ilm, and to inform those who are behind them. Malik ibn Huwayrith radiallahu anhu, one of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, he also came with his people, and the Prophet ﷺ, when they stayed with him, said for like 21 days or days, and then the Prophet ﷺ told them, go back to your people and teach them. So they stayed with the Prophet ﷺ, they get to learn the essentials of what they need for the people to learn for themselves, and then the Prophet ﷺ ordered them to go back and teach their people, which shows that this is an act of worship, a duty that the Muslim should have in himself, especially if his people entrusted him. Then he says in Hadith, حدثنا محمد بن بشار قال حدثنا غندر قال حدثنا شعبة عن أبي جمرة, this is the chain of narration, قال كنت أترجم بين ابن عباس وبين الناس. Abu Jamrah, he used to, he's saying that I used to translate between Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma and the people. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, the nephew of the Prophet ﷺ, as we said before, the Prophet ﷺ, when he made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for him to comprehend matters of the deen, matters of ilm, matters of knowledge, matters of the wahy of the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed the knowledge of Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, that people will come to him from, as they say, from the afaq, from the horizons. Right? They will come from all places to learn the knowledge of Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma. And many of these people, they did not even speak the language of the Arabs, so he needed translators. So Abu Jamrah used to translate for him. So he used to sit next to Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, and he would translate to the people. It was said to Persian or whatever the language they are in need of. فقال, and this is also is mentioned in other parts, that's an evidence. It's okay to translate matters of the knowledge for people to get to know the necessities of their team and the trustworthiness of the translator. This is an important one. Why? Because the speaker, like Abdullah ibn Abbas might not know the other language. So that person has to be a trustworthy one, otherwise he can convey something that is wrong. And many rulings when they talked about the translator. So even when a person is in need of a translator, he needs to make sure that this translator is a trustworthy person. فقال Abdullah ibn Abbas, he said, إن وفد عبد القيس أتوا النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. The wafd means delegation. A group of people representative of their people. They came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Prophet sallallahu said, "Man al-wafd or man al-qawm." Prophet sallallahu said, "Who are the people? Who are these delegation? Who are the people?" قالوا ربيعة. They said Rabi'a. Rabi'a is part of Abd al-Qais, part of the tribe. فقال مرحبا بالقوم أو بالوفد غير خزايا ولا نداء. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told them, مرحبا بالقوم, which is a good thing to say when somebody comes to you. After the salam and everything, marhaban means, marhaban comes from al-rahb, matters when it's spacious and at ease. So you're giving comfort to those who come, especially if that's for the first time, to give them the security that the matters they are welcomed and not someone to be rejected. غير خزايا ولا ندامة, that the Prophet ﷺ is telling them that you won't be khazaya, meaning let down. You would never be regretful of what you did. Meaning that you are welcomed and inshallah ta'ala that you will benefit. قالوا, they said, إِنَّ نَأْتِيكَ مِنْ شُقَّةٍ بَعِيدًا. They said to the Prophet ﷺ, we come to you from shukka, meaning a place that is far away. Right? And the same word is mentioned also in the Quran. They are coming to the Prophet ﷺ from a far away place. وَبَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكَ هَذَا الْحَيُّ مِنْ كُفَّارِ مُضَرٍ. And between us and you, this place where the people of Mudar, they are disbelievers. وَلَا نَسْتَطِيعُ أَن نَأْتِيَكَ إِلَّا فِي شَهْرِ الْحَرَامِ. And we are not able to come to you except in the Shahr of Al-Haram, meaning there's no fighting, because between them and the Prophet ﷺ are disbelievers, and if they come to the Prophet ﷺ, they always fight throughout the year, so it's not safe for them to come. So the only chance that they come to the Prophet ﷺ is in Al-Ashhur Al-Hurum. Because the Arabs at the time of Jahiliyyah, they would still respect the sacred months and they would not fight in them. And these Ashhur Hurum are Muharram and Rajab and Dhul-Qa'dah and Dhul-Hijjah. And sometimes they would switch Muharram with Safar. It depends on what's fighting is going on. So this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala condemned them in the Quran, because they choose and they take whatever they take. So this is what they said to the Prophet ﷺ, giving this introduction that they won't be able to come frequently or so they want the best benefit they can get from the Prophet ﷺ. Then they said, فَمُرْنَا بِأَمْرٍ نُخْبِرُ بِهِ مَنْ وَرَأَنَا نَدْخُلُ بِهِ الْجَنَّةِ. And it's very important, as we said before, in these types of hadith where there's a dialogue between the Prophet ﷺ and others, is to really ponder over every word is being said. These people were very precise, and it shows the concern that they have in their hearts and what the Prophet ﷺ would interact with them and what to say. They said this introduction, which is very important, of course, because of what they need, and it's very precise, which shows that when a person is going to meet someone of importance or to meet a alim, a person of knowledge, to prepare what they would say so that they would get the best of the benefits, instead of just talking too much and giving a long introduction and so on. So they said that the Prophet ﷺ ordered us by a matter that we would inform those who are behind us, our people, and would make us enter Jannah. So they want something very precise. They would enter Jannah if they do this. So the Prophet ﷺ فَأَمَرَهُمْ بِأَرْبَعٍ وَنَهَاهُمْ عَنْ أَرْبَعٍ. Prophet ﷺ ordered them with 4 things and forbade them from 4 things. أَمَرَهُمْ بِالْإِيمَانِ بِاللَّهِ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ وَحْدَهُ. He ordered them to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Most High, alone. To believe in Him alone, not to associate partners with Him. Then He told them, هَلْ تَدْرُونَ مَا الْإِيمَانُ بِاللَّهِ وَحْدَهُ. The Prophet ﷺ asked them, which is a way of teaching and educating them. Do you know what does it mean to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone? What is the meaning of al-imanu billahi wahda? They said, Allah wa Rasuluhu a'lam. Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam knows best. Right? They didn't say what they think, because linguistically it can be clear to them. Right? But they said Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam knows best the manners of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, and also knowing that matters of deen will change, the wahy will change some of the things that they already know linguistically. Because that iman, matters of faith, can be just mean something in the heart that a person believes in. But the ayat of the Quran and the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ would prove that al-iman is not just a matter of belief in the heart, it's the belief from the heart and the actions done by the heart and the speech of the tongue and the physical action, and it increases and decreases, and its speech and actions. So Iman is more comprehensive than just a matter of belief. So this is an evidence of that. The Prophet ﷺ is asking them, do you know what al-Iman billahi wahda? They said, Allah wa Rasuluhu a'lam. He said, Shahadatu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. To bear witness that there is no one worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the messenger of Allah. Wa iqamu as-salah, and to establish the salah. Wa ita'u az-zakat, to give the zakat. وصوم رمضان, and to fast the month of Ramadan, وتعطوا الخمس من المغنم, and to give 1/5 of the booty of the war. These are the first 4, right? What does that always refer to, that we teach the children every day, that this is what? This is Arkan al-Islam, right? Not Arkan al-Iman. The question was, what is the Iman? Prophet ﷺ is asking them, what is the Iman to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He answered them by Arkan al-Islam. He did not tell them to believe in Allah and the angels and the books and the last day and the prophets and the qadar, which is the pillars of al-Iman. No, he answered them by the pillars of al-Islam. And this is why this hadith will be repeated in many times, especially in Kitab al-Iman. Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he repeated it more than one time to prove that al-Iman, the word al-Iman, when it's mentioned alone in the context, whether it's in the Quran or in the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it means everything. It means the pillars of al-Iman, it means the pillars of al-Islam, it means the whole entire religion of al-Islam. If the word al-Islam is mentioned alone, it means matters of al-Iman, matters of al-Islam, the whole religion of al-Islam. So the 2 words can be used depending on the context. That means the whole religion of al-Islam. But if both of them are mentioned in the same context, in the same sentence or so, then there's a difference. Then comes in the talk about the pillars of al-Iman, which is the inward actions, and then Islam is the outside or the physical actions. Only if it's mentioned in the same context. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَالَتِ الْأَعْرَابُ أَمَنَّا قُلْ لَمْ تُؤْمِنُوا وَلَكِنْ قُلُوا أَسْلَمْ. The Arab, the Bedouins, they said, we believe, we have Iman. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, do not say we have Iman, but say Aslamna. Islam comes before Iman, which is the bigger circle, the level of al-Islam, then the level of al-Iman, then the level of al-Ihsan, as the 3 questions of Jibreel alayhi salam. Right? So this is a clear evidence that we should always remember, to show that al-Iman is very comprehensive, and it's not just a belief in the heart. So, and again, every time the Shahadatain is mentioned first, and this is the covenant between the Muslim and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the whole religion of Islam is based on La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. They only want to be worshipped as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They only want to be followed in the absolute sense without any condition whatsoever as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And always the salah, when it comes to the order to pray, is not about praying, it's about establishing iqam as-salah. Always in the Quran like this, always in the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we need to really not understand things the way we think, the way that we like. It's the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us. We should not worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala according to our own desire. We worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala according to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants of us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to establish the salah. What does it mean to establish the salah? To do it with its pillars and obligations and recommended acts, exactly the same way the Prophet ﷺ did it in the masajid and so on. But just to do the salah, whatever, a person can do it with the khushu' and so on, this is all deficient. And to give the zakah and to fast Ramadan. And then he mentioned, alayhi salatu wassalam, he did not mention Hajj here. They said because maybe Hajj was not obligated yet, because it came later. And he mentioned instead, وَتُعْطُ الْخُمُسَ مِنَ الْمَغْنَمِ, and to give 1/5 from the booty of the war, because they, specifically this delegation, they are in need of it because they would face this and they would have to send this 1/5 of the booty of the war to Al-Madinah. So this was a specific thing for them. The evidence of that this was specifically for them, what came after that. What the Prophet ﷺ forbade them of, he forbade them from what is unique to them. These people, they were famous of having the wineries for many of the Arabs, right? So the Prophet ﷺ, what did he forbid them from? He said, وَنَهَاهُمْ عَنِ الدُّبَّاءِ وَالْحَنْتَمِ وَالْمُزَفَّةِ قال شعبة وربما قال النقير وربما قال المقير, which is the different ways that they would make the wine or intoxications from. Sometimes in the pumpkin, they would put it there and close it for a long time. Or sometimes they would put it in the trees. They would take the inside of the tree out and they would put the wine in there and close it and keep it for a long time, right? Or they would put the tar or some jars made of tar or the black or whatever they call it. So this is different means that they would do the wines and so on. So the Prophet ﷺ was very specific. He did not tell them, and I forbade you from drinking wine or alcohol or intoxications and that's it. No, making sure that the different types of drinks that they have that is forbidden, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned them in details. Right? So that nobody will have saying he did not mention this type or that type. And of course the ruling that brings all of this together, anything that intoxicates, even if you take a sip of it and you're not intoxicated by it, this sip is haram, this sip makes it a major sin. So it's not about the intoxication, it's about that since it intoxicates, then the small portion of it is still haram, as the Prophet ﷺ said that in the clear hadith. That if abundance of it makes intoxication, then the small portion of it is haram also. So, but then again, the significance here, the Prophet ﷺ, and this is what we learn from the way of the Prophet ﷺ, the person has to be aware of who's asking, and who are these people, and what they are in need the most, and to really to clarify all means of doubts that might come to them, but especially that are going and that might not come back again. So to give them exactly what they need without any doubt whatsoever. Then the Prophet ﷺ said to them, احفظوه وأخبروه من وراء. احفظوه. That's why Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he mentioned that in the title. احفظوه means memorize it, study that, comprehend it, don't let it go away. وأخبروه, and inform من وراءكم, whoever are behind you, meaning your people. So the Prophet ﷺ gave them that, and that was enough for them for the time being, till the matter becomes easy, till the people of Mudar became Muslims, and the matter become easy and they can get or gain more knowledge. So whatever they are in need now, the basic, the foundation of the deen, and they will establish these orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, till more instructions will come to them. So the benefit or the point of the hadith here, how the Prophet ﷺ taught them, very precise with them, gave them the comfort, and spoke to them in a very precise way, and the meanings of an iman too, and ordering them to memorize it, and inform those who are behind them. Not just themselves, but also those behind them, and that's why also we have to have this intention when we come to any circle of knowledge, that we should not just limit this knowledge to ourselves. Once we learn something, those who are behind us, who are they? Our families, for example, right? People that works with us, or whatever, any people that can benefit from us, we should also have at least the concern that we extend that benefit to them. And that's why many in our homes, you would find sometimes the husband, for example, he's the one that is going to the masjid, increasing his iman, listening to a hadith, listening to ayat. His iman is affected, and his wife is busy with the children and the housework and so on, and there's no means of an iman that should increase her iman. He has a duty. One of the rights of the wife on the husband is that he teaches her religion, either with knowledge he has, or if he doesn't, then he has to provide this knowledge for her, the necessity or the mandatory knowledge. and one of which is to increase her iman. And also for the Muslim women, that whatever she's doing, work at home, raising the children, this is something that should increase the iman. How is that? This is an act of worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, duty that has to be done. So the person is seeking the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Definitely this is something that should increase the iman, but without undermining the other orders of Allah and establishing the salah, still learning matters of the deen, having the reminders of the hereafter, the Jannah and the hellfire and so on. It's very important, otherwise we would find step after another the heart becomes hard and forgetfulness, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. Then he says, باب الرحلة في المسألة النازلة وتعليم أهله. Another chapter, and as we said, with reading the books of Hadith, the session will be not just about one topic, so it's a different way of learning matters of the deen. We go from one thing to the other. Al-Rihla means, comes in the context of traveling. Right? The word Al-Rihla means trip, but it's usually meant by this word is to travel. So to travel fil mas'ala, to learn a mas'ala, one matter of the deen, al-nazila from al-nuzul, coming down. It means here, nawazil, or the things that is a nazila, that means something that is happened to the people, that they have no idea what the ruling of it. Right? So what to do about it, especially if it's something new. And there's so much nawazil nowadays. Many things that, for example, new discoveries of things, new transactions, right? Very complicated transactions in matters of buying and selling, things that people might eat or smoke or drink or whatever there is. So these might be new to many people, but we have the foundations and the principles in matters of the deen. We don't have to have a specific evidence that says that hashish, for example, or marijuana is haram. We have the general ruling that if it intoxicates, then it's haram. It doesn't matter how it intoxicates. For example, this is not necessarily a nazila, right? This is not necessarily something that is, I really need a good word for the word nazila, but something that is unique happened, that they need a ruling and they would seek to ask the people of knowledge, and there are many examples of this. So he's talking about to even travel to ask about matter of the deen, especially that nobody knows the ruling of it, وَتَعْلِيمِ أَهْلِهِ, and to teach one's family. He says, حدثنا محمد بن مقاتل أبو الحسن قال أخبرنا عبد الله قال عبد الله here, and he didn't say who. This is Abdullah ibn Mubarak, rahimahullah, one of the أئمة of this deen. قال أخبرنا عمر بن سعيد بن أبي حسين قال حدثني عبد الله بن أبي مليكة عن عقبة بن الحارث. عقبة بن الحارث, he says أنه تزوج ابنة لأبي إيهاب ibn Aziz. عقبة بن الحارث, he married a daughter to Abi Ihab ibn Aziz. The name of the daughter is not mentioned, right? There's no significance of it. So someone married the daughter of Ihab ibn Aziz, and the one that married her was Uqba ibn al-Harith. فأتته امرأة, a woman came to him. فقالت, and she said, إني قد أرضعت عقبة والتي تزوجت. She said to him, I أرضعت, meaning I breastfed Uqba, the husband, and the one that he married. I breastfed both of you. That means she is the mother from breastfeeding. That means they are brothers and sisters in breastfeeding, but they're already married. Right? So they're not supposed to be married. It is not permissible for them to be married. So she said that to him, that I breastfed you Uqba, and the one that you married. فقال لها Uqba said to her, ما أعلم أنك أرضعتني ولا أخبرتني. I do not know, لا أعلم, I do not know that you breastfed me, neither you informed me of that. I have no idea. This woman came to him and she said that. He said, I have no idea. This is something that I didn't know about. And I did not know that you had breastfed me before when he was a child. So what did he do, Uqba ibn al-Harith? He said, I don't care what this woman says. I don't know her. No, he said, فَرَكِبَ إِلَى رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم مِنْ مَدِينَةٍ. Rakib, he took a transportation. He rode his camel or his horse or whatever to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Al-Madinah. He was in Mecca. So he traveled all the way from Mecca to Al-Madinah. Because of that, of course, this is a serious matter. And this is nazila, right? He doesn't know what to do. what to do with that situation. Should I listen to what this woman is saying, or should I ignore what she said? فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كيف وقد قيل. He went to the Prophet ﷺ to ask him. The Prophet ﷺ told him كيف وقد قيل, which literally means how is it when it's already been said, right? Meaning that the matter is already known, right? That you and your wife are brothers and sisters in matters of fasting, right? So that means you have to separate yourself from your wife. ففارقها عقبة ونكحت زوجا غيره. عقبة فارقها. He separated from his wife and she married someone else, of course, after she was relieved from matters of iddah and so on. ففارقها, and this is not talaq, this is not divorce, it's cancelling the contract because it's not valid. But what if they have children? It's legitimate children. If there was children, they are legitimate and they are to be referred to the father. And this is they call nikah shubha if the matter was done by mistake. There is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Right? If people get married by mistake, something like this, they have to be separated. Right? And if they're children, they will be still referred to the father and the mother and everything, but they cannot continue to be together because they are brothers and sisters. This hadith, without getting into the matters of fiqh in details, this is one woman said this. So can the shahada, the witness of one woman in this matter, be counted? And it seems like it's counted. The ulama, they explain the hadith in a different way. The statement of the Prophet ﷺ, when he said كَيْفَ وَقَدْ قِيلَ, some said this was the Prophet ﷺ advising him to separate from his wife as a way of wara', to protect himself from he said, she said. People will continue to say that they are brothers and sisters and so on. So just to avoid that, terminate the marriage. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will release the matter with something better for both of you. But some said the Prophet ﷺ would not do something like this unless it's for real, that this is something that they have to be separated. This is a husband and a wife and so on. And that's why there's differences of opinions. Can the shahada or the witness of a woman with matters of the matters that only women would know, like breastfeeding, for example, right? Does she have to have a man to witness this or not? The madhab of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah, he takes the witness of one woman is enough, based on this hadith. One woman, if she comes forward and she said, I breastfed these two people, then they are not to get married. And her witness is enough. If she is, of course, trustworthy person. One woman is enough. The other madhab, right? Some said it has to be 2 women, some said 4 women, some said there has to be the normal witness. It has to be either 2 women and 1 man, or and so on, right? And it depends on how they explain the hadith. The ruling will be according, right? So if a person have or facing the same situation, then they can go ask the person of knowledge and they can give him the verdict, inshallah ta'ala. But the hadith shows us, and of course, the point of the hadith here is that Uqba ibn al-Harith radiallahu anhu, he traveled for a long distance to ask the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam something that happened to him that he doesn't know the meaning of it. And this is something that should be the attitude of a Muslim. As Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah said, if you travel from the furthest point of Al-Yaman to the furthest point of Al-Sham, right, for one matter of the deen, one mas'ala, this is not a wasteful travel. Even if it takes months and months, it's not a wasteful thing. To know what is benefiting for yourself, to know matter of the deen, to save oneself from the hellfire, to be closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is not waste. And that's why when we have a matter of the deen that we need to ask, we should not belittle it. With the ease that we have nowadays, we might send an email, text message, right? Call somebody on the phone, and if they don't answer, if they don't return the message, we get so upset, or saying, I don't need the knowledge or whatever there is. These people, they used to travel, and that's why it's important to put the effort. If you have a question of matters of the deen, it's not arrogance from the person of knowledge, but when we put the effort, definitely there's a blessing in this. It doesn't mean that we should not send text and all of that, but it might be that you might not understand the answer very well. And there's a big difference between talking to one-to-one or just sending a message or email. Some things it's easy. How to pray like this, or how to, what is the ruling, something in general. This is halal or haram, but something unique to one situation, it should really be avoided totally how to the different ease of communications. The person should do the best he can, even if he has to travel and take a plane and go far away. If you have the means, do that. And that's why also one of the examples is matters of marriage and divorce. People take it lightly. I said this to my wife, is she divorced or not? Send a text message and then the reply is, she's divorced or not divorced. This can be very dangerous, right? The matter should be done, with carefulness, and the mufti or the one that is asking, he might ask the person more questions. What exactly you said, right? What was your intentions when you said it? And it should not be that my friend, he said this to his wife, right? Are they still married or are they divorced? Get the brother to come and ask, right? Don't ask on his behalf, because there are things, more details to be known. And this is a matter that can lead to major issues, right? So the matter is a serious one. The religion is a serious one. People, when they have a health problem, they don't go to the doctor and say, my friend, he's sick. He feels this and feels that. Can you please write a prescription for him? It doesn't work this way. What is more even important is the matter of the Jannah and hellfire. So matters of religion are very serious. And if we are at times of fitan and tribulations, it's because of not the abundance of matters of people of knowledge. That's why we need to seek the knowledge as the people of knowledge, the ones that we trust the knowledge and the religion. And if you spend money, if you travel, if you put some effort, it's worth it, and it's not something to be belittled. And we should put that effort. And again, it's seeking rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Uqba ibn Hadeeth radiallahu anhu. If you have any questions, inshallah, towards the end, I know there might be some issues. Then, maybe this is the last chapter tonight, inshallah ta'ala. He says, باب التناوب في العلم. التناوب في العلم. التناوب, when a person would take a nawba with the noon as a fatha, right? Not a nuba. A nuba is south of Egypt, north of Sudan. This is called the nuba, right? And nawba is to take turns, right? Shifts, basically. So they call the word shifts in Arabic an-nawb, right? And they would say, even the doctors, he has niyaba, right? That means he has a shift. So tanawub is to take shifts in matters of knowledge, right? To take turns in seeking knowledge. And that is for someone, if he's busy with seeking provisions, and he has to support himself and his family, should he then turn away from matters of knowledge? No. If he has the means to take shifts with a brother for the sake of Allah, he goes one day and his brother goes another day, right? And they would meet and they would exchange what they learned. This is something that has been neglected so much, and this is something that needs to be revived, right? With the busyness of people, right? People should, if they have the concern, they should have some form of agreement. People, they have carpools and things like that. Also matters of knowledge. You listen to this, I listen to that, and we meet and we can tell you what you benefit, I will tell you what I benefited. And of course they have to make sure that they learn the proper way. And we see from the hadith. He says, حدثنا أبو اليمان أخبرنا شعيب عن الزهري. And there's a ha. This ha is, as we said, is what? Junction in the chain of narration. So it will meet somewhere else. Junction that it comes like this. Two different chain of narrations, and they meet at a certain point with one narrated to the end. So he says, حدثنا أبو اليمان أخبرنا شعيب. As we said, these names, we seek rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala seriously when we mention their names and get to know them. These are our people, right? These are the A'immah of this deen. So we should not be bored to say the names, and to maybe the names when it's repeated many times, we will have the zeal to get to know more about them. And all of their biographies are saved. If you go back to the books of Al-Rijal, the books of Ben, you will find all kinds of things about them, and some of their statements and great benefits, and they're all, most of them are A'immah, big scholars of the matters of the deen. And as it was said, whoever Al-Bukhari, rahimahullah, narrated any hadith from them, قَدْ عَبَرُوا الْقَنْطَرَ, they had passed the bridge, meaning passed the bridge of asking, are they trustworthy or not? Because he did the work for you, right? The work has been done thoroughly, so you know for sure that these people are trustworthy. So Abu al-Yaman, he said, أخبرنا شعيب عن الزهري. Imam الزهري رحمه الله. قال أبو عبد الله. Abu Abdullah is Imam Bukhari رحمه الله. وقال ابن وهب, and he said, وقال ابن وهب أخبرنا يونس. علي ibn Shihab. Ibn Shihab, he is الزهري. So in the first chain of narration, he said Az-Zuhri. In the second one, he called him Ibn Shihab. And sometimes he would use Az-Zuhri his family name, and sometimes he would say his name is Muhammad ibn Shihab. Imam Zuhri, his name is Muhammad ibn Shihab. So they meet at Imam Zuhri. So the chain of narration meets at Imam Zuhri. عن عبيد الله بن عبد الله بن أبي ثور عن عبد الله بن عباس رضي الله عنهما عن عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه قال, and some of the hadith we would find that Abdullah ibn Abbas رضي الله عنهما, he would narrate the hadith from a sahabi. Usually the sahabi is the end of the chain and he says the Prophet ﷺ said so and so. But because Abdullah ibn Abbas رضي الله عنهما, the Prophet ﷺ died when he was still young, almost by the age of puberty, and he heard many things from the Prophet ﷺ, but he spent the time after that learning from the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, going to their homes, as we mentioned that before, learning from them the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. So he learned that from Umar radiallahu anhu. So Abdullah ibn Abbas is saying that Umar radiallahu anhu, he said, كنت أنا وجار لي من الأنصار في بني أمية بن زيد. كنت أنا, me, used to, me and a jar li. Jar is neighbor to me from Al-Ansar في بني أمية بن زيد. We used to stay there, وهي من عوالي المدينة, from the outskirts of Al-Madinah. They used to live there. So him and his neighbor. وكنا نتناوب النزول على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. We used to take turns, shifts, to go down, to go to Al-Madinah, to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. ينزل يوما وأنزل يوما. He used to go down one day, and I go down the other day. Right? Why? Because they would be busy with their provisions, which shows that this is something bad, and it's not something that should make the Muslim feel bad if he is seeking means of provisions, but did not prevent them from seeking the knowledge from the Prophet ﷺ, and they would take turns. فإذا نزلت جئته بخبر ذلك اليوم. Umar رضي الله عنه said, فإذا نزلت, if I go down, I would come back with the khabar, with the information or the knowledge of that day. من الوحي وغيره, from the wahy that comes down to the Prophet ﷺ, from the revelation and else, otherwise, and everything else. So he would come back to him and he would inform him what happened on that day and what was revealed and so on. And this is what the knowledge is, right? This is the knowledge. The knowledge is nothing else. This is the knowledge, and any matters and science of knowledge is to serve the wahy. So if you learn, for example, Mustalah Hadith, the terminologies of Hadith, it's not because of that as a goal, is to learn the Hadith, right? And to make sure that it's authentic and so on. If you learn Usul Fiqh, this is not meant for itself, it's to serve the matters of the Wahy. If you learn the Arabic language, right, it's not for the Arabic language to be experts in it for the sake of the language, it's to learn the Wahy. So everything is about the Wahy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Quran, and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. وَإِذَا نَزَلَ فَعَلَ مِثْلَ ذَلِكَ. And if he goes down, then he will do the same. So they used to take shift, helping one another for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَنَزَلَ صَاحِبِ الْأَنصَارِ يَوْمَ نَوْبَتِهِ. My sahibi, my companion, my friend Al-Ansari from Al-Ansar, he went his day to his shift, this was his turn. فَضَرَبَ بَابِي ضَرْبًا شَدِيدًا. When he came back, he knocked on my door very strongly, ضَرْبًا شَدِيدًا, right, knocking on the door very strongly. فَقَالَ أَثَمَّهُ, which means something to be referred, أَثَمَّ, it refers to something that is far away, right? He wanted to say that what we thought is far, is it now happened, right? And that's why another narration, Umar thought that the Dajjal is out, because they were waiting for the Dajjal. Or the Prophet ﷺ informed them about the Dajjal, the lion, right, the biggest fitna ever. So, and he did not inform them when. And the Prophet ﷺ himself, as he said, that he does not know when he's going to come out, and every Prophet warned his people. So, this is how they were living the matters of knowledge, right? So, is it the matter that is supposed to be far came close or so? Because of how he was strongly knocking on the door. He says, فَفَزِعْتُ, which means I was terrified, I was scared. فَخَرَجْتُ إِلَيْهِ, I came out to him. فَقَالَ قَدْ حَدَثَ أَمْرٌ عَظِيمٌ. He said to me, a great matter had occurred or happened. And there's nothing after that in this narration. Then Umar radiallahu anhu says, قال فدخلت على حفصة فإذا هي تبكي. He said, I entered on Hafsa. Hafsa is the daughter of Umar radiallahu anhu, the wife of the Prophet sallallahu. He went to her and she was crying. From what the Sahabi told him till he went to Hafsa, this is not mentioned, right? Which is valid when you say the story of something. He said to him that there's a great matter happened, so we can complete what happened, right? That Umar radiallahu anhu, he got ready and he went to Al-Madinah and he went straight to Hafsa, the daughter of the Prophet sallallahu, the wife of the Prophet sallallahu, which is the daughter of Umar radiallahu anhu. فإذا هي تبكي, and she was weeping. فَقُلْتُ طَلَّقَكُنَّ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ. I said to her, the Prophet ﷺ divorced you, and this is what was revealed in Surah Al-Tahrim about the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ stayed away from his wives for a whole month. And this was something that disturbed the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, because it's a major thing to the Prophet ﷺ, and this is something also that part of the wahy. So she said, لا أدري, قالت لا أدري, I do not know. ثم دخلت على النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. So I entered unto the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, I went to him. فقلت وأنا قائم, and I said to him while I was standing, أطلقت نسائك? Did you divorce your wives? The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said, لا. He said, no. فقلت, and Umar رضي الله عنه said, الله أكبر. Right? He was happy. Allahu Akbar, that the Prophet ﷺ did not divorce his wives. Again, this is the end of the hadith. The point of the hadith is at-tanawub fil ilm, right? That they were taking turns to go learn from the Prophet ﷺ, and this is why Imam Bukhari rahimahullah, he brought it here. And again, this is something that we should benefit from. And of course, from the story that inshallah ta'ala also would come with the matters of the Prophet ﷺ with his wives. And there's great benefits, of course, from that. But we'll stop, inshallah ta'ala, at this point. And if you have any questions of what we mentioned, inshallah, please go ahead.